right, guys. So we have a jam-packed webinar today, or a live show, as we like to call it. Luka is a great guy, except for him being a Jedi. Anakin, Mr. Anakin. So we will be covering many topics. So we'll just get going, and then hopefully our dear LeadDelta marketing team will share a recording later on, and maybe not. So stick till the end. Perfect. As you guys have read all around the web, we're going to be talking about AI. And when I say AI, I don't mean just LLMs, but all sorts of and various different applications of artificial intelligence. And we're going to specifically be talking how is that going to impact social selling and go-to-market moving into 2024? Our personal belief is that the go-to-market playbook is outdated, and we need some new strategies and tactics that are going to help us stay in the game, and hopefully in a sustainable game. So that's why we like to bring experts such as Luka, who's basically, he was in AI and machine learning before it was a thing, before it was sexy. To say that you're in AI, and he's actually an engineer by trade, helped multiple startups from 0 to 1, worked with large companies such as DELL, Volvo, Workday, some really large companies. And then also he teaches, he's spreading his knowledge with over 500,000 students globally. I say 1 million because I calculate in all the companies he's working with and also his students. But you'll see Luka's modest. He's a super cool guy. We work together on some of the LeadDelta updates we're going to share at the end of this webinar. And welcome, man. Good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for a great introduction.
Yeah. I always keep saying, like, I don't like when people ask, like, tell us more about yourself. Like, what do you want to know? More or less, or like, So that's why I like to give an intro that I'd like to receive when people introduce me. So welcome to the show, Luka. Again, good to have you here in front of the audience. There's lots of good stuff we're going to go over. So, but before we do that, just, add additional things that I didn't mention, give us a bit more of a color to Luka.
Oh, you mentioned basically all of the things that I would mention myself. Like, of course, like, I can go in more details than that, but generally, like, I love working on chaotic stuff. That's why I'm generally working with different startups, different companies from different stages, like from basically a couple of people to a couple of hundreds of thousands of people, like DELL, for example. And yeah, so the challenge is how to approach the problem and provide like good solution, and not like promote a tool that is AI in all of the cases. And currently I'm in a stage, after I sold my startup, I'm in a stage where I help companies basically achieve that. So how to solve a specific problem with potentially new technologies. That's it.
The best thing I have to add to this, the best thing about Luka is, he is a consultant, so he does tell us all sorts of great stories and implementations and how to do things. But he also helps you implement, which is what I really like about Luka. He's there to help our engineers, walking us through the solutions and potential paths, troubleshooting together. So Luka is a great guy and a great professional. Bit about me, CEO and co-founder of LeadDelta. I built software, and I built winning teams. I love working with amazing people, and I love crafting great cross-functional teams. LeadDelta helps B2B professionals hire more effectively through the power of their network. So as you can tell, we believe in people all around. But today we're going to talk about the AI. So let's jump right into it. So plans for today, we're going to talk a bit about the future of go-to-market. We're going to be talking about signal versus noise in 2024. What can we kind of, from predictions to like what can we surely expect next year, and how you can prepare your teams. We're going to talk about practical everyday tips. We want you to walk away from this webinar not just like, oh, AI is some buzzword like we need to be thinking about, but how do you actually embed it into your product, into your daily operations. And then we're going to jump into Q&A. We already have some questions asked by the audience, so we're going to run through these, and then also feel free to add your questions into the questions box. All right, perfect. So I'm going to stop the share right now. Again, stay until the end. We have lots of good stuff for you. But to begin with, Luka, can you just share your general perspective on where AI and in particular LLMs stand right now and where they headed in the future? You know, give us a wild estimation of where this field is headed towards.
Yeah, I think currently we are in a stage of overhype, basically. And in a recent future, like when I say that recent future, it might be like a couple of months from now, a year from now, but that's going to happen next year. We're going to see some failures, like of using LLMs and generally like those technology, generative AI, as we call it today. And like I just want to emphasize that generative AI is like 10% or 5% of the whole AI landscape, where people are not even looking for 90% because it's not like marketed. So in most cases, like we can touch, and we will touch upon that later, but that's where we are currently, because like you have so small part of whole AI landscape that is over marketed for people, and in most cases those are generative models. And because generative models are there to generate things, that's the only thing that it was trained on. So you need a lot of supporting technologies around it to actually be more useful of that information. What I mean by that, let's say the most hype product that everybody is using, right? I'm using it almost every day, is ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is trained to generate text. It's not trained to do calculations, mathematics, and all sorts of stuff that we expect it to do. So we expect it to have a logical system built inside of it, which in most cases it does not have that. So if it's trained on a lot of, let's say, business plans, it will be able to generate kind of a business plan for you to start from, but not end with. So where those failures will come in is over emphasizing what AI can do. And then a lot of companies, like smaller and bigger ones, especially smaller ones, that don't want to or doesn't have the money, or they're in a stage of where they think that they have the biggest problems that will be solved by AI. They're jumping on the bandwagon of AI immediately without checking what AI can do. So they're over relying on that, which then later becomes the problem, because if you over rely on that, you promote it as a kind of a what starts with ends all solution, and you can deliver that. So because of that, model is trained, as I said, to generate text. That's it. Okay. So that is that we are currently in as a trend where it begins like from now, because people started expecting from those models to do everything. People from OpenAI, from Google's Google Bard, for example, became like a really good model in the recent weeks, actually. They didn't promote it that well, but let me tell you. So I tested it out. Like I was the first. I am a part of Google Developer Expert, so I love Google's technologies. But when the Bard became the Bard, it wasn't a good model. I couldn't say to people just use Bard. It wasn't a good model. So right now it's a really good model, and the where those comes from is the fact that they are adding blocks around it as a kind of supporting systems. So that is a one trend that we can expect, and people in marketing will call it a multimodality, where basically they have other kind of functionality added around interface, which is LLM. So let's say you have right now in ChatGPT implemented DALL-E 3. So you can have basically a question to DALL-E to generate some image. So that's not ChatGPT. It's a completely different algorithm that is only trained to generate images. So right now you only have kind of a front end to that model is LLM, which is ChatGPT in their model, in their way. And then on top of that, you below that you have, let's say, DALL-E. You have Python executable code and stuff like that. So that is something where we are. Is there some part of the question that I just skipped, ransomed?
No, this is great. Like what I'm thinking more is like, you know, as we continue to integrate not just ChatGPT, like but all these different technologies, that relate to machine learning and artificial intelligence into our everyday's life. What do you think over the next, like, but let's go wild, let's get wild estimates to begin with. So over the next 3 years, 4 years, what do you expect to see in the B2B space? What kind of today's news are impacting the future? And again, like, go crazy, give us your wild guesses. We're going to go into more specific ones towards the end.
Yeah. So it's really difficult place to be.
Putting
right
you on
now,
the spot.
because, I'll try to be as crazy as possible in the prediction sense, but the trend right now is to automate whatever can be automated. Right now, and that's not going to stop. So because, like, we see a lot of startups, we see a lot of companies that are like using that leverage to build their products and automate a lot of stuff that they couldn't before. So we will see in the next 5 years a lot of those fundamental models either fail or really succeed. When I say really succeed, they will become much more competent than right now. Like, they're right now only, let's say, trained on a certain amount of text or a certain amount of images or whatever. That's one thing. We will see a lot of more kind of a machine learning based cases where, for example, you have a recommendation system. Right now, recommendation systems are still difficult to implement because they're really based on your data and really based on your system that at hand. So it needs to be engineered inside of a system that you have. It can be API'd from somewhere.
Right.
So
and by that, Luka, just to clarify for most of the audience, you mean, like, basically, one of the products we're implementing at LeadDelta, we're basically calling from a function from a large language model such as OpenAI, ChatGPT, and basically pulling in the intel from there, right? Like, that's what you mean by that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And basically that. We will see in the next 2 years a lot of small startups starting and failing really bad. Because right now, those bigger companies such as OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, right now AWS or Amazon, and then you have those smaller labs such as Anthropic, AI21, and Stability AI. So all of those companies are having so much resources to develop those technologies. Some of them are implementing open source. I forgot Meta, for example, Llama 2, which is open source right now. So a lot of smaller startups that are built on top of those kind of a larger companies will need to think about how to create their technological moat. And for just to explain the term, so moat is basically what you create around your company as a kind of a unique selling point of your product that will protect you from your competition. So what is unique about you? Why would somebody give you money as an investor, for example? So if you're just relying on OpenAI APIs, or if you are only relying on a certain technology that is out there in 2 years, you don't have a competitive advantage at all. Like,
you see, let me challenge you there. It's not that I disagree. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty aligned with that. But, like, some companies are saying, like, and so what we've seen in the past couple of months, we've seen that VCs have been pouring cash into these startups. Like, the valuations were crazy, and they raised a whole bunch of money to be the first, right? And so if you have a ton of users that rely on your use cases and your tiny but important crucial implementations of whatever use case you're trying to solve for, people some would argue that you would always want to stay or continue paying subscription to these companies versus going to OpenAI or some other companies that are technology providers underneath that are doing kind of similar add-ons or kind of projects, but they're not as detailed as those vendors that are specialized, right? So do you still think that it's going to be very challenging to keep the moat?
Absolutely. But what you just said is kind of confirming what I said. Let me explain you. Let's take an example of a company that you and I know, PDF AI.
Right. Yeah.
So the PDF AI is built on top of OpenAI.
That's a good example. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an amazing product. It's a really niche product that is built to work with PDFs. 2 days ago, ChatGPT introduced the capability to integrate PDF directly to ChatGPT. Okay. So
Right.
why would I pay to PDF AI
Right.
if I can just simply upload my PDF to ChatGPT? That's one question.
Yeah. Well,
So
the question is like, can they optimize it better because they're so much more focused?
I'm sure they can. I'm sure they
Right.
can. But let's say this. So let's say that PDF AI, I don't know anybody from there, but let's say they're paying $100,000 per month, which is a lot of money, but
Right.
a small amount of money for OpenAI. And
Right.
if that's the only reason, like their technology relies on OpenAI, basically goodwill to provide the API capability to them.
That's a big risk. Absolutely. Like
That's what I'm saying. Like,
how do
yeah,
you deal with
they
that?
have a like a so when you're speaking about a moat and kind of a unique selling points, you have one that comes from your IP, which is your technology in most cases. So it can be a better interface, it can be a better use case, but the like in the technological sense, like, okay, I'm going to implement the algorithm in this way. I'm gonna put some unique spin to whatever I have. Let's say Llama 2. Everybody has the Llama 2 right now. And if you have a lot of data and then pre-train it or fine-tune it, to your data, let's say for, I don't know, healthcare or for support,
Right.
that would be your moat because you
Right.
have the data, but the data is your moat because
That
let's
the
say
data is the mode.
exactly.
So basically, to conclude this, you're saying, as we're thinking of building products in the space, kind of stay focused on actually what's the unique value of the product. I mean, pretty logical, but basically on the technical level, like really understand, like, do you own the data? Do you, like, is this your data or you're harvesting it from somewhere else? And then if it is from somewhere else, like, is it like a waterfall methodology, or you're just kind of leaning onto one source of data inflow, and that's basically very risky in your opinion? So you think a lot of the startups that we see now are going to fail in the future, and we're going to almost like end up, well, we're going to have a lot of monopolization from these big players, and it's going to be hard to compete, right? It's going to be hard to compete with Googles of the world.
So difficult. Like currently I'm building a product. Currently I'm building a product where you can try, you can basically search any product on YouTube just by scanning that part of the video. So it's still unique, but like the algorithm behind it right now, maybe those bigger companies will just come up with a better version. I came up with my version, which is unique to us. But what if some of those companies just came up with an API that will do that? I don't know.
Which is very interesting. Like, and that's especially now a lot of people talk about crisis, and like I mean, obviously we can talk about the economy all we want, but the fact is, like, money is becoming more expensive, and we're going to see a lot of consolidation on the market for sure. So all right, very interesting. So
I would add one point here. Like, it doesn't mean that it's a showstopper. I think like the traditional way of building the product, like just going deep into technology and building your code from scratch, is still a bad case in this case. Okay, so let me explain what I mean by that. Is, let's say you and I right now start brainstorming and come up with an amazing idea to create a chatbot for like a not homeowners but pet owners, like what to do, whatever. There is two paths. One, rely on the current technology, such as OpenAI's API or some like Amazon Bedrock or Google's Vertex AI, whatever we choose. Those are amazing choices to start. The other choice is immediately jump to build our own version on Lambda 2 and stuff like that. Now, we just started. We don't have any money. We just basically are from our basement. We're doing that. Of course, this path is better, and I would always suggest this. But don't come up into the situation where you start earning money and you say, amazing, we are the best. No, you're not. You're on the right path that you need to continue building on. Like, you are going to build a first solution, MVP. You're going to start building money, start raising money, start building user base and stuff like that. When you're at the point when you have extra cash laying around, that's the point where you need to build your own IP. So you use their IP to build something as a kind of MVP, as a first version.
To prove the point on the market, right? Like,
exactly.
To prove there is market for what you're trying to build.
We have amazing tool. Like, we are in the best case like right now. If you are serious about that startup, go with that route. And then when you're at the one point where you have a user base, they're happy, their problems are kind of solved, then you want to improve it. That's the point where you start building your own version, let's say Llama 2, fine-tune on your own data. And that is where you start deploying that. Not immediately. It will,
Gotcha.
it will screw up, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, you need a lot more resources. Like that's why some of these companies are. What's mind-boggling is some of these companies are like raising 20, 30 million, 50 million, and they're still dependent on big LLMs, which is, anyways, perfect. Well, this kind of sets the stage. We talked a little bit more about the product and how you guys can think of maybe even building your own solutions. Now let's focus on 2024 and what I say, like signal versus noise, and how does that relate to B2B SaaS, not only from the product perspective but also like from the marketing sales perspective. What would you say some of the specific trends or changes that you predict in the space next year being impacted by the technological advancements we are having in LLMs? So what are you kind of seeing on in the B2B scene, within the companies? I mean, you taught like at DELL, I hope I can say that, at
you can,
at
that,
Volvo,
yes.
and bigger companies. So give us a gist. What are some of the specific trends that you would predict for next year in B2B SaaS?
Yeah, so the biggest concern, like for those big companies and like a mid-sized companies, the privacy of their data and privacy of their users.
Right.
So we already see a lot of work being done like by giants that are providing their technology in a private way. Let's say Amazon Bedrock just released the public version of that couple of weeks from ago, and
Right.
what immediately they released the first version where you can spin off the whole server just for you with any of the models like that you have, like their Titan models, which is LLMs trained by AWS. Then you have Anthropic's models such as Claude, and like Cohere's models and stuff like that. So you have a lot of those fundamental models. When I say fundamental models, we mean LLMs that are trained by big companies. So GPT-4, GPT 3.5 by OpenAI. Then you have PaLM 2 by Google. You have Titan 2 by AWS, and so on. So all of those companies are investing tremendous amounts of money and computer power to create a starting point for you, where those models they are amazing in the sense of being general. And then you're going to specialize them. So all of those companies, first of all, have a lot of issues with the privacy. Like OpenAI is still, they have like an enterprise version right now, but it's really weird. Like I didn't find any crucial information to distinguish like that. Should I go with that, or should I go with, let's say, Vertex AI or AWS Bedrock right now? With those two bigger companies, like Google has, in my opinion, has one of the best policies for enterprise, because their biggest clients are B2B, not B2C. So that's why they really waited for a long time to kind of improve the Bard. And Bard for them is kind of a playground to see, okay, we can do this, we are amazing, but here is what you're actually getting behind the scene.
Now, let me ask you this. So most of the folks here are very active on LinkedIn. Is LinkedIn done with all the automated text being generated and like posts being generated? So tell me more about that. How do you see that evolving?
If I'm not wrong, they just released like kind of a feature to automate messaging for premium users.
Right.
Which is crazy. Basically, like it was one space where, well, when I joined a long time ago, where you can be you and start like connecting with people that you're interested in kind of working, because that is like a platform for working. But right now you have like a crazy amount of content automatically being generated. You have plugins for Facebook, not Instagram, but Twitter right now, or X, however we call it. Like,
so are they going to fight it, or are they going to embrace it? Like, what do you think? Like the platforms.
OpenAI has, LinkedIn has a real difficult situation. If they start fighting it, as they fight everything, they will start to see downturn in user base, because like right now we have kind of other platforms to go and use. They are potentially going to embrace it, but then control it in a sense like what others building on top of that platform can use. So I see something like that, which is like what Microsoft does. Yeah.
Interesting. And so, okay, so this might be a too specific for this part of the section of the webinar, but why not? Let's just roll with it. Someone is asking, an anonymous attendee is asking, like, would AI replace sales development representatives or people that are there?
To some degree, yes.
To some degree.
To some degree, yes. So all of like customer support, sales, and a lot of like, let's say, for example, in healthcare, there is a huge like right now discussions of whether AI will change a radiologist, because radiology is like thinking of like what is actually going on with X-ray scan of lungs or whatever. And you can for quite some time now use those scans, put them in the computer vision model, and then get some prediction what is happening actually in that scan.
Right.
Okay. So we can see that. And a lot of people that are studied for 10 plus years to become a radiologist are scared right now. And like I see in the recent future, all of those will become optimized and enhanced by using AI. And people who are not educated and not knowing how to use AI tools will fall behind. Those will be replaced, not by directly AI, but people who are using AI. And you saw potentially a lot of tweets or LinkedIn posts, but just with that sentence. But that is the case, because like if you're only providing, let's say, a copywriting solutions to a company, you don't have any additional value. You don't have a business thinking about how to spin up like certain product. You're just there to write something that somebody gave you. You don't even think about what is the content. Why would I pay you whatever amount of money that I'm paying you if OpenAI can do that for me? Like they can generate then, and I can just tweak it a bit to be in my own language or company's language, and that's it. If you are providing a low value to the company, people will start replacing you. If you're a sales person, especially sales in person, if you have a good charisma, if you know how to sell, no AI will replace you, because like sales is still like a personable skill, where is one of the most useful skills in the sales is soft skills, not hard skills. So
this is very interesting. So I think to that end, I think we're mostly in an agreement. Like I think the world is in an agreement that like it's not that AI will replace you, but unless you learn how to tame that power and how to actually optimize it and embed it into your process, like unless you do that, then you're going to get replaced, right? So you almost kind of don't have a choice. You cannot opt out. If you're B2B, would it be a fair statement to say like if you're in B2B SaaS, there's no way you can opt out of the AI? And just
I would say yes. I would say yes. And one thing that I'm noticing, like a lot of questions that are coming towards my way, like in the whatever, like they're really specialized. How AI can be used in e-commerce? How can I use AI in this specific SaaS product? Let's say whatever that might be. In most cases, those specific niches like e-commerce or enterprise sales or whatever, like CRM, like they have use cases for AI. But any company relies on processes that are in your company. You have a lot of AI applications that can help you automate or enhance processes that are not user-facing, but you-facing, employee-facing. So you can be more productive and focus on delivering the value. Because in most cases, people will try to see how can I achieve better value for the user directly through my product. Sometimes you can, but sometimes it is going to be a risk for you, because when what people don't see is when they deploy AI, it becomes maintainable problem or maintainable thing. So because any AI is stochastic, any AI in the world is stochastic. So you can't expect AI to give you the same answer every single time. So if you had a process that is predictable, that is deterministic, you know when something enters the process, let's say users using your platform, at the end, they exactly have what is going to be expected and delivered. And suddenly you put AI in the middle of that process, that's going to be, you know, a problem, because they had the deterministic system, but now you have some stochastic, which means basically a random. Okay, even in any LLM to this day, if you change one dot, it's completely changing the output, which is called avalanche effect. Okay,
Right.
so that is why that is the reason behind it, is it's a stochastic. Okay, and in most cases you're going to be better off focusing on delivering the value, which is your like a B2B SaaS, but then enhancing your delivery of that value behind the scene.
And that's I think that's 2024 in my honest opinion. Like we cannot be, you know, and that's the thing. Like, you know, we all have to try and think for ourselves for a second, right? Like instead of like, you know, reading all the tweets, all the LinkedIn posts, and what gurus and experts are saying, you know, just for a second, like try and reason, you know, from the first principle and figure out yourself, right? I think the next year, I think what we're seeing in B2B SaaS, and we've been seeing that for the past couple of years, is like context, personalization, but not like personalization by inputting like 50 variables, like, you know, first name from this company, from that city, like, you know, whatever. But it's kind of context based. So I think that's the first value where, you know, AI in B2B sales process can help, which is like to do the research for you, to help you point out the main, you know, the main news sources or the main points that are kind of triggering the value chain on the company side, that you can jump on and be like, hey, we can actually help you speed up that part of the process, or we can help save you money, or we can help this or that, right? So basically learning what the company cares about by analyzing mass amounts of data. So that can be like one very, very specific thing where, you know, where we can gain a lot of ammunition and power as sales reps. Now, the second thing is like, you know, as humans, we you know, as we you know, tired throughout the day, we tend to forget certain things. You know, we tend to forget to embed useful resources at certain stages of the communication, and so I think from calls where we have AI analyzers who analyze the notes, the conversation on that particular call is, I think, very useful for coaching calls and coaching sales reps to like, actually, you know, why don't you embed this video from, I don't know, Loom or from some other place where you recorded that video, because, you know, it'd be useful in this part of the conversation, right? Like kind of those nudges and reminders could be very useful. So basically, like you said, like AI being an overlay of your, like on top of your process, not like something that replaces you. And so that's why I think it's very important to talk about these topics, because I still hear a lot of people are like opting out. And again, if you're in B2B SaaS, software as a service, and generally dealing with businesses, this is one of those trends over the past 10 years, like, you know, 3D printing, you know, whatever. We had like the rise of social media in 2010, you know, like all of these different trends. Maybe you could have missed them, but this one you cannot miss. Like that's my statement for this whole webinar, and why we're going to be doing a lot more topics on artificial intelligence and LLMs in general. All right, so, interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Luka.
Yeah. So amazing that you said, like, let's say your process, like, just to give you a bit more meat about what you just said, like you have, after every meeting, you need to send meeting notes. Right. And you need to curate meeting notes, you need to write the drafts and stuff like that. Like, I'm personally the worst person on a meeting that should take notes and listen to the person, because I can't do both in the same time. Like I'm not trained for that. So whenever I need to listen to somebody, I'm there. And then after the call, if I remember, I'll write down what I need to send them back.
Right.
There are a lot of softwares now, for example, Otter AI, for example, that is there to, I'm not promoting tools, by the way. I just
there's multiple tools doing.
There are a lot.
Yeah.
Whatever works for you. I don't care. But basically, they are there to basically summarize your meeting in a meeting notes and send them back to all participants on the mail, which is saving you like potentially 30 minutes of time after the meeting.
Right.
So those 30 minutes can be used for anything else. And that
Deployed
process,
elsewhere.
exactly. And like, for example, right now we are teaching, we are creating a course, Chris and I, on how to use AI for analyzing companies for finance, for potential investments and financial professionals.
Right.
We are teaching them how to speed up the process and how to be prepared in the future if that becomes better, because the current algorithms are amazing to some level, and after that you still need to do your work. And you're basically saving with that process that we're teaching like tremendous amount of time.
Interesting. So that I think that that's a great value. So basically, when you're choosing like what to do next year, like I would say focus on one goal. Like can we you know, you sit and you analyze the year, you say like, okay, so these are like whatever processes we're going to keep, this is what we're abandoning, like, you know, it doesn't produce value. But those that we have that are producing high return on investment, whether it's in marketing, sales, HR, whatever, how can we add AI on top of it so we can do it more efficiently, we can save more time, etc. So our people can you know, do other high value things, you know, throughout the year. Which I think, again, if you extrapolate that to 12 months, I mean, you can tie it into the budget, into the money you save, you know, just by doing simple math with the hourly rates and whatnot. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What do you think, Luka? Like, I have lots of questions for you still, and we're like running through we're burning through time quickly here. So what do you think? You know, what do you think of these companies and kind of ultra tiny teams, like, you know, 2, 3 people, 5 people?
Yeah.
Are we going to see more of that in the next year?
Sure, for sure. Yes,
because obviously we're kind of saving time, right? Like so.
Exactly. You will see a lot of those teams that are like here and then either becomes amazing or just don't exist anymore. We'll see a lot of like changes in any industry there. Like we see right now, like for example, supply chain, amazing industry to automate, but it's really difficult if you don't have a domain expertise. But right now you have a couple of startups that have only 2 people, 3 people, 4 people that are trying to automate or change specific like part of that supply chain, which is really encouraging for a lot of entrepreneurs that want to start something, but also really difficult to solve. But 2 years ago, previous 2 years, you couldn't do that. You needed like 30 people to solve certain like, for example, supply chain problem. So that is definitely there, and it will become a thing if you have specific idea, if you have domain knowledge, and then you have those tools. Because like, guys, AI is a tool. It's not solution for everything. It's a tool. In most cases, like when the people comes to me and ask me, hey, where can I put AI? In most cases, the answer is nowhere, because you don't need it. If you have amazing process, if you have something that works right now, and adding AI just for sake of it, then that becomes an issue.
Okay? Yeah, like, you know, most of these template you know, multiplier startups, so they're just like redoing like, you know, copy and you know, just having that one simple thing with no background data to personalize it even more and to do it like context based is just not useful.
And I just want to add there, like if you're a company owner or if anywhere, like that will become the trend. It's still the trend. Well, it's still the need right now, but it will become even bigger need to educate yourself what AI can and cannot do. And then on top of that, you need to know what your data can and cannot accomplish for you. Because like in most cases, you will jump on something that is low-hanging fruit, seems like that, but in the real world, like that might not be the biggest value add to you and your company. Sometimes like you will jump on the bandwagon and say, hey, let's say I need to increase or create a better recommendation system, because you know that competitors are doing that. I'm not saying that is not true. I'm just saying that, for example, right now, the shortest path is creating a better sales, better dashboard for your sales team, which is nothing to do AI, which is data processing. Okay, so think about like how your data is not used and how can you add it, how can you extract the value from it, and then on top of that, you can start building some solutions. And doesn't have to be AI directly. It can be just a better data processing and dashboard.
Definitely. So can you tell us like quickly, like any fun story? So like, speaking of these large companies, you had the opportunity to talk to, obviously if you can, what keeps them awake at night? Like what are some of the key questions and, medicine that you see? But like, there's a whole bunch of questions from the audience I want to get to, but this is a very interesting story I think would be to share with the audience. Again.
So all of the big companies right now have their own kind of so one trend that becomes right now even popular is becoming hiring CIEO, Chief of AI Officer. And a lot of companies are employing those solutions. Those people. And one thing that they're right now starting is creating a long-term plan, data strategy for the company, and they are creating something that is privacy and policy on how to use your data and how you can use those tools, because you can't prevent users or your employees to start using ChatGPT or any tool right now that is publicly available to everybody, of becoming more productive in their work. So they have like 50 plus pages of like privacy concerning things that can and cannot be done. I'm not saying which company, I'm just saying that. Right. We didn't mention it in this call, just FYI. But yeah, so basically that is one thing, because like they have a lot of employees that you don't know what's happening. Like we saw with the Samsung that people basically used optimized code and their internal like kind of a IP documentation for submitting. So suddenly it became the part of training data for ChatGPT and became available as a kind of output for other competitors. So their biggest pain point, if we are speaking of the top level, is like, how can I communicate that, and how can I create a good like learning process for my employees so they know what they can and cannot say from internal side. That is the biggest pain point for the top level executives.
Interesting.
Now on the bottom you have contra. How can I get value of this if I'm constantly being told what I can and cannot do? So you have the constant like two side direction there.
So same old. So for what I can tell, like corporations, same old, and this is exactly what you're saying. Like, AI is just a tool. So it's another tool, to discuss, like, with all the rules that and the policies that companies need to implement. And then on the stakeholder or employee end, how can I, you're preventing me to innovate with all these rules and policies. But that's why we, on the small and medium size side, I think we can really go crazy with the tools and really like really innovate and test all of these and try and implement them in our process. But again, it's very important to think about the return on investment. Like one way to think of the return on investment into these processes, like to me, like the easiest way to measure it is time. So how much time are we saving, and how, what's our average hourly rate? Like how does that correlate to the time saved? I think that's the easiest way to measure it. But I know you had a couple of encounters with the OpenAI guys, and I know they do like a white glove onboarding where they, to companies that have a larger user bases, they go personally and they, teach and help you optimize the systems and processes. So how are they measuring return on investment? Is it only through time, or like, is there any other way, more specific way that they're measuring it, just on top of your head?
Big companies?
Small, well, it doesn't matter. Like small to medium size, I'd be more interested in. Yeah.
So revenue and time.
Okay.
Depending on where you're implementing AI, it doesn't have to be like, for example, when we are measuring, let's say there are a lot of companies now jumping on recommendation system side, because it is like becoming more and more prevalent in the kind of a personalization space and trend. So you kind of need it to have if you want to compete, and that becomes like a really direct correlation to revenue of your company. So that is a kind of a KPI that you're measuring when you're doing that. Now, if you are doing that in a sales process, you want to measure either time to close or amount of people that you are able to close, like the increase in that. It really depends on the process, and the KPI for using AI is not much different than regular like projects. It becomes if you're kind of implementing optimize certain process, then KPI becomes the time. But in most cases, it's just enhancing kind of a value add to that process.
Awesome. Well, we have a couple more audience questions from when you guys registered. So I want to go through these quickly. Like, there's lots of questions, so we'll just pick and choose a few. And by the way, let me tell you a couple of things before, as we're getting towards the end. We have actually, Luka was kind enough to provide his email and even his calendar. So you guys can go on his website, book a consultation service if you're interested to learn more from Luka. I'm sure he has his own AI engines to prioritize you based on this webinar.
No, I don't.
Come on, like, just play with me. Play with me.
Okay, yeah, I have the best AI therefore.
And another thing I want to mention before we move into the last couple of questions is we're actually doing a big deal for you guys. Black Friday, before the Black Friday. So basically, we are having towards the end of this month, obviously it's today, so you have a couple of hours left. We're doing 50% off on the first year of LeadDelta. So annual packages, first year off, 50%, which means 4 months are already applied, 2 months we're adding on top of that. So if you want to do that today, just grab a coupon code SHOW to indicate that you're coming from this webinar, because this is related to today's webinar. So if you want to go grab that, go to app.leaddelta.com/billing. Or just start a trial and follow the billing prompts, and we're gonna be happy to onboard you personally. We are shipping many new things, and for the first time, I actually want to say that AI was one of the technologies I was really. It was the first kind of trend, quote unquote, that I was like, I can't wait to figure out how we can add this into LeadDelta. So much so that protects privacy of our users. It also adds value through productivity and time saved. So basically, Luka and I, we started working on this like maybe a year ago, like in the conceptual phase, and slowly but surely we are ready to release the first version, the beta version of both LeadDelta Prospector and LeadDelta Inbox, which basically both will leverage the AI and both will allow you to find lookalike audiences and audiences you care about on the prospect side, and then on the inbox side, we're going to just help you, whether you're on LinkedIn or inside LeadDelta, we're going to help you to actually optimize your messaging, whether generated from zero or basically optimize what you already built and wrote yourself. So it's going to add a little contribution to your LeadDelta efforts, and it's going to help you, on the prospector side, scale the revenue and preserve time going through the inbox. So Luka, do you care to share, some of the, work in progress, kind of tinkering through this process? How was that for you? And, what are some of the learning points working with us through these two products?
Yeah, sure. So it was a really smooth process. First of all, like great people in your team. Great for choosing you. Choosing you is kind of a place to be. Yeah, so we actually built a kind of a search for all of the people on the LinkedIn that you don't have to use any filters. So you basically can say, hey, I'd like to have, please find me all HRs in this industry, or this in this area, or US, EU, whatever. And then it will basically filter out and find you all things, no matter if you're connected or not. So it will be, you will be able to more optimize search, like what you actually want. So that's amazing value. The second one is to help you in the whole kind of a process of connecting with them. And now that you add them to the network, you would like starting conversation and actually getting value from your network. So that's why we have the whole system for, yeah, as you can see on the right hand side of the slide, a system where it allows you to reach faster to them with more value. Yeah.
That's it. We're not going to share more. We're not going to share more because it's coming out soon. Yeah. As I said, do feel free to go to LukaAnicin.com or Anikin, and and to figure out like what Luka's consulting is all about. As I said, like he's a brilliant guy, good guy as well, which really is important to us. We care about the skill, but we also care about you as a human being. Yeah, he's not an AI; he's a human being. So. But definitely book, at least go through the website, like see what some of his projects and check out some of his courses. I think that'd be even easier to start, and then see if he can help you anyway with your business or process optimization. Yeah. I think he's pretty good with that. Go ahead, Luka. You want to say something?
Yeah, or just add me on LinkedIn and start chatting with me. I am easy to reach out, so please go there. You can even there is a 30 minutes free consulting call that you can schedule with me directly on LinkedIn. And for now, I'm doing that directly. So you're going to have a conversation with me. So yeah, please, if you have any questions regarding your business.
For now.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. So we still have a couple more minutes left. We have lots of questions, so let's try and breeze through them. How can AI help us stay in touch with people we care about? Mihailo Mike is asking.
Okay, you can stop sharing your screen if you want.
we had a good joke about it. Whatever. We can skip it, like if you want. So.
Okay. So I don't know. Good question, Mihailo. I would say like that that can so there are tools that you can build easily, like with all the things. I don't know if they exist. Potentially they are, to remind you like when to reach out, on how to reach out. Like Facebook, for example, is amazing tool. Like I don't use Facebook for anything except for birthday reminder.
Okay.
That's the only reason why I'm using Facebook, because it's the best for that.
That's actually pretty hilarious, like from all these features and everything like they have, like all the communities they built over the years, like our generation is defaulting to like birthday reminders.
Yeah. I'm officially old.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So yeah, like for example, reminding you on when to do that, or automating like writing emails for certain like stuff. So when you say care about, it can be personal like stuff, or it can be from the like a side of your business. And if you're caring about your customers, which you should, like you can schedule a set of emails that are automatically going to be generated based on the context. So I'm not saying any generation, I'm saying based on the context with your style. So there is a way to do that easily today. And when you're speaking to directly that you care about in a personal sense, I would always go with your personal touch. So I will never automate like reach out to my dad or mom or my future wife in the same way. Yeah.
Right. Gotcha. All right. I'm trying to chat here with people and then go through the questions, but so like, can you quickly like summarize it? We talked about it a lot, but like, can you summarize it? Like, how would you, just on top of your head, how do you identify opportunities for AI automation within the sales process? How do you identify the opportunities?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Whenever we speak about AI, the algorithm is not important. The data is important, because data is start with data and end with data. If the data quality is poor, the results will be poor. You can have the best algorithm in the world, and the answer comes the same to any process in the company, and any part of the company, is do data strategy. So one of the services that I do, I'll try to not plug myself, but basically is define with leadership of a company how the data can enhance your current processes. And the best way to find out is to through a structured way of doing data strategy, which aligns with your current business strategy and tells you which things you need to do for next 12 or 24 months. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So what else is here interesting? Okay, perfect. This is a good one. So how to stand out from all around AI hype?
Yeah. So depending on what, do you want to talk about AI, or like a kind of a influencer way, or do you want to be just a learner of without AI hype? Like, how do you want to approach this question?
So I would approach it like, from what I gather, and let me just look at the title. So basically, so I think it's back to one of our sections, is like, how do you distinguish signal from noise? And like, are there any credible resources that you would recommend? Like, what Luka reads when it comes to AI. Where do you get your news?
So
outside of your LinkedIn posts that are coming out weekly, we should mention that too.
So I would say like this. For any source that I'm using, I wouldn't recommend it as a sole resource, because for each I have some negative stuff to say. Even my posts, because all of the posts are biased to some experience. So if you're using my kind of a profile as a source, please use some other as well, just to compare, because you can get a lot of value from me, but it's my perspective, so it's biased with my experience and my choice. So make sure that you're choosing from different sources as well, and which I do, like Reddit. Then there are a lot of news. So yeah, news are overblown, but you can see which kind of trends are becoming more hyped, so that can keep track of you. A lot of people from industry are using X or Twitter, depending on how you call it. I personally hate Twitter, so I don't use it. But that's one amazing source that I'm missing, because I don't like it. But that is amazing source. Then there are a lot of blogs, like Medium blogs, authors that are using that. There are LinkedIn people that are kind of depending on how you approach it. Like there are a win guy for data strategy things. Then there are data engineering stuff, which is more technical stuff by Zach from Airbnb, amazing guy that speaks about healthcare, mental health, and data engineering. So if you're more engineering perspective and you want to learn more about that, he's amazing for that.
Interesting. So Luka, are there any books? I remember here on my shelf, I have a book from MIT, like the 101 on artificial intelligence, and like all the aspects from legal to like technological aspects of it. So how do you like? Are there any books you would recommend yourself? Like anything that comes to mind that you think is a good long form read that would kind of help you navigate these waters?
So, I don't know. Like there is AI superpowers by I forgot his name.
AI superpowers.
Okay. AI superpowers. That is written in a perspective of what's happening in China, what's happening in the US, from the side of like basically developing AI stuff, and that algorithm, that book came before ChatGPT. So it's a really interesting read to see how like superpowers of country superpowers are thinking about developing AI. That's one thing. I would always recommend for the risk side, because AI comes with a lot of risk. So I would always recommend Nick Bostrom's book, Superintelligence. So that is a book it's not technical book. So anything that I recommend is not technical. So those are kind of a great for thinking about the problem. So kind of a mindset books. Yeah.
Perfect. We're at the top of the hour, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. As Luka mentioned, and I as well, like we're going to be releasing the LeadDelta 3.0 with all the new and all the greatest new stuff that we built for you. Thank you for attending this webinar. We're going to keep extending and talking about this topic. Luka, man, excited to work with you more. Thank you so much for carving out some time of your day to join us here. So of
course, it was my pleasure.
Awesome. Well, guys, again, thank you so much. We're at the top of the hour. Have a great, productive day. Don't forget to support us on Prana Hand. Chat soon. Thank you so much. See you at the next webinar.
Bye.